Hi everyone, it's Rhiannon and I'm here to talk to you about another book that I've been really enjoying lately. So the book I want to talk about today is Laini Taylor's Muse of Nightmares. Hodder very kindly sent me a proof that you can see there, but I also then went and bought it because I love Laini Taylor's writing and it is incredible. So Muse of Nightmares is the second in Laini Taylor's fantasy duology. The first book was called Strange the Dreamer. I wouldn't class it as YA, I think it's just straight fantasy. If you like beautiful world building, complicated characters, big moral grey areas, then this is the book for you. And also if you like pretty books, because I mean, not to judge a book by its cover, but I think this book is going to be alright if we judge it by its cover. So this video will kind of be urging you to read both Strange the Dreamer and Muse of Nightmares, because you can't really have one without the other because they're a duology. It is so good, it's such a worthy follow-up to Strange the Dreamer, which was one of my top books last year. Laini Taylor is one of my all-time favourite authors just generally. Muse of Nightmares is definitely worth picking up if you enjoyed Strange the Dreamer. So as this is the second book in a duology, obviously it's a little harder to sum up because I don't want to spoil it for you if you haven't read the first book in the series. So the first book is set in this completely fantasy world and the main character is someone called Laszlo Strange who works in a library, but he's always dreamed of this city that everyone calls Weep because the name just disappeared from everyone's head, so no one knows what the city's name was, and whenever they try and think of it, all they can think of is the word Weep. And no one's heard from the city in a few years. And then a convoy from Weep appears in Laszlo's city and they say that they need people to help them with a secret project. So Laszlo goes to Weep with a bunch of other people and things sort of progress from there. The other main character is a girl called Sarai and she is living with her brothers and sisters somewhere near Weep, and there's a lot of mystery surrounding who they are and why they're there. So something pretty momentous happens at the end of Strange the Dreamer, and Muse of Nightmares is all about picking up where that left off and following Laszlo and Sarai and some other amazing characters. So that's all I'm going to say in terms of summary. I know it's a very brief one, but I wanted to just talk today more about the writing style of Laini Taylor. So her first trilogy, Daughter of Smoke and Bone, is so good, and it sort of based itself in our world and then branched out to other fantasy worlds, and you can really tell in Muse of Nightmares that she's really like hit her stride in terms of constructing a fantasy world, but populating it with these very believable characters. There's one character in particular who I'm so conflicted about because she has done very bad things in the past, but you can also completely understand what her motivations are, and I think it's very relevant to the world we're living in today where people like to put things in black and white and good and evil. Taylor goes beyond that and says no, people are complex, issues are complex. The wonderful thing about her series is there's never really a villain in the real sense of the word. Even the most despicable characters that she writes, she still allows you to understand why they became that way and what their motivations are, which is slightly torturous because you're trying to hate this character whilst also at the same time understanding exactly how their mentality came to be. Her world building also is one of my favourite parts. She very evocatively creates these fantastical worlds that you can instantly imagine. She draws on elements from cultures that we would know, and one of my favourite things about Strange the Dreamer and Muse of Nightmares is that a lot of the books take place significantly in someone's dreamscape, which obviously enables you to have so much freedom, but Taylor really uses that to explore people's hopes and dreams in a very visual, beautiful way. As for the characters, Sarai is very tortured and I have to be very cagey about her because basically you want to discover who she is while you read it, but the things you need to know, importantly, is that she's very empathetic but also very strong. The character I think I like the most in this duology is Laszlo, because he's just a dreamer. He is Strange the Dreamer. His name is Laszlo Strange. He's an orphan, but he always imagined a bigger world, and he was also obsessed with the mystery of this city of Weep. It's obsessed him for his whole life because he can remember the moment when he knew the name of the city and then the snap, and then all he knew was the word Weep. And he just has a very naive but in a very sweet way of looking at the world. And my favourite thing about him is that his nose is broken and he's 6 foot tall and he looks really scary, but actually his nose is broken because a big book of fairy tales fell on his face. The visual image of this big scary man, and actually he's just like a big softie who's obsessed with adventures and reading, which I think is something everyone can relate to. I think these books are especially important right now with the state of the world, where it's very easy to see people you don't like as the enemy and just refuse to hear their point of view, because Laini Taylor just forces you to get outside of your bubble and actually really think about the other side. The main message of this series, I think, is to open your mind a bit more and to really understand the complexities of life and the moral complexities. It's a really incredible series. It's just like pure magic in a book. I'd love to hear what you think of this series and of Laini Taylor's work. I hope you like it as much as I do, and I'll see you next time.